All right, welcome guys. This is Michael with Church Brand Guide. Today we're going to be jumping into the idea of creating a great guest experience with our facilities. Like, what does that look like when somebody comes on property for the first time? How does it look like to them to encounter an experience that is welcoming? It's energetic and vibrant, and it just screams to them that you want them to come back. So we're going to dive into that here in just a moment. Let me first set up what we're doing here. This is Church Brand Guide. My name is Michael Persad, and we want to help you become your church's brand expert. The idea is to help you turn strangers into contributors of the vision that God has given you. Ultimately, we want you to steward your resources well. So you're saying yes to the right things and no to the things that really don't move the needle for your church. We want to help you get more guests showing up. As a result of that, more life change taking place in your church, and to get more support for the vision that God has given you. That's the goal of Church Brand Guide. It's why we started this, and it's why we do what we do. There's 4 steps to this process. First is that we have to get clear. If you're going to build a brand, you first have to get clear about who you serve. And then, who are we? Like, let's get clear about those 2 things. Then we create the experience, the right experience that's in line with what they need, what the audience we're trying to serve, what they need. Then we need to attract people. So a good brand has a way to bring new people in. It keeps us sharp, and it's a great piece of our strategy to help you attract new people on a regular basis. And then also we need to get buy-in. So our job's not done once people come. We need to get buy-in. So this is a 4-step process that we have. Today we're going to be looking at step number 2, creating the experience. We're talking about a straight to seat experience today. What does it look like in the parking lot, the lobby, and all the way into the auditorium? So we're going to dive into that. First, I do want to serve as your virtual communications director. So I've been doing this job for quite some time on staff as a megachurch, and also on staff at a church plant. In fact, right now I'm in South Florida, part of a church plant. Pastor Brandon is the pastor, but then my family, we just moved down here. We uprooted from Kansas City, and we just came down here to South Florida to help plant this church in an area that is 93% unchurched. So we love the challenge of how do we get the message of the gospel, the message of church and coming to church to an area that is completely unchurched. So just a really quick recap of where we are in the church planting process. I'm with Vibrant Church. You can follow Vibrant Church at Your Vibrant Church on social media and also on the website. But we're about 11 or 12 weeks right in there into the church plant here in South Florida. We're seeing some good momentum being built up at this point. We're part of the ARC network, and there's a lot of training that has come into that as being part of that network. So we're right on track with where we should be, and we're starting to see some good momentum. And I'll talk from time to time about the church plan, because I believe that it's not just about sharing with you theories. I want to apply it and implement it and give you direct results from what we're seeing. So here's a tip that I want, again, just as a virtual communications director, if you're leading creative people, that can be a challenge sometimes. The creative people think a little bit differently. Your graphic designers, photographers, video people. So one of the things that creative people love is just to be equipped. If you can equip them with the right tools to do their job, you'll help those creative people help you. So for example, it can come in a lot of different forms, but we use software to help schedule social media posts. There's a thing called Hootsuite that allows you to schedule ahead of time. So we actually have a paid membership that as a church we provide for the social media manager to be able to schedule things well ahead of time so that they don't have to keep up with it from day to day. Another example is that we have a great camera that we bought that's a church camera, and it's a Canon 6D, has a really nice L lens. It's a professional lens, but we're able to let our photographers use that, and they love it, and it's a way for us to recruit people. So help them get better. instead of paying for their services, they're volunteering their time, invest into the right tools so that they can maybe learn a new skill set or just get better in some way. Creatives love that, and they'll give you a lot when you invest into them. One other thing I want to bring to you is this tool called Trello. Trello is a free tool where you can schedule your projects. So I used to manage a team of like 4 or 5 people that were part of the communications team. I was with a mega church. We had a lot of resources. So we use this thing called Trello to manage all of our projects. And we just have deadlines. We'd have tasks that are assigned to certain people. And Trello is just a great tool. I just want to bring it up it's easy to use. It's very intuitive. And it's a great project management tool to stay on top of all those projects that you're juggling as a creative team. It's also great for managing volunteers. So if for nothing else, to help you as the communications director or whatever position you have, just keep everything straight. It's just a great tool to keep everything going on. And it's a drag and drop. You move these little cards from one place to another. Very intuitive drag and drop feature that maybe at some point I'll get more into that as well. But I just wanted to introduce you to Trello. Again, just serving you as a communications director to help you maybe do what you do just a little bit better if you haven't heard of that tool. All right, so let's jump into our topic, how to design a great guest experience on your property. So the big idea I want to set up with this is people are coming to your property and they're making a decision whether or not they're going to come back within the first 7 minutes. There's a bunch of different stats about this, but we'll go with 7 minutes. In fact, there's a book written by Malcolm Gladwell. It's called Blink, and it's a bestseller book. And it talks about how people make their first impression within the first 2 seconds of meeting somebody or walking into a space. So we have a very, very short amount of time to make that first impression. And then what happens is, as Malcolm Gladwell explains in the book, is that whatever your first impression is, if it's positive or if it's negative, you're going to spend the rest of your time that you're experiencing that event either reinforcing the positive or the negative. So that first impression sets the tone, and everything after that really reinforces that. So we must get it right to get the first impression right, and it starts in the parking lot. It's not when the sermon happens; it starts in the parking lot. I think we all recognize that, but sometimes we just need to just pause and pay attention to what's going on. This is our marketing path, and I use this over and over again to kind of explain the journey that we take with people as we lead them. First, they start off as a stranger. They don't know anything about our church, and we have to have a strategy in place to reach them as a stranger, and then to get them to show up on our campus for that first visit. Once we do that, we want to help them move to becoming an attender, which means they basically come for their second visit or more. So those basic sets of rules right there helps us to have a lot of focus on, hey, what are we trying to do? And then the other 2 steps is to help attenders become members and for members to become champions. And members is kind of this tricky word. We've talked about it in the past, but it can mean a lot of different things. But we want to move people to a commitment where they say, hey, this is my home church. So this is what the process looks like. Well, the problem that we're going to address today is that a lot of churches struggle with getting people to come back. How do you get that second time visit to happen for that person that's coming for the first time? It's a real struggle that churches aren't paying attention enough to the experience that they're providing. And people are confused when they come for the first time. They don't know whether or not they're supposed to go left or right because the experience is mixed between the first-time guest and the regular attenders. In fact, one of the churches that I just recently worked with, we went in there and just to evaluate the facilities, and there was no signage telling you where the bathrooms are or where the kids' check-in areas are or those type of things. The basic needs that a new guest would want. And the idea that the church had was, well, we have greeters that are there to greet people. And that's true, but you need both. You really do. The greeters are there, yes, to help people find where the bathrooms are, but you need the signage to kind of reinforce a lot of those things because you don't know if there's going to be a gap where somebody steps out for just a moment. And it helps people just feel like you're anticipating them when you provide those things. So the solution I want to provide for you today is the idea that you need to be intentional to create an experience that is designed for the new guest. By, by default, we need to focus more on the guest, the first time guest. As we design our parking lot experience, our lobby experience, and even the auditorium, it needs to be designed first for the guest. The guest cannot be trained on what to do, but a regular attender that's been there a few times, we can help them understand how to use our facilities or something along those lines. But the new people, it just needs to be intuitive for them. The result is that you'll see guests deciding to return for their second visit. If we get this right, people will come back because they feel like we're being intentional about them and meeting their needs, answering their questions ahead of time. You know, there's a story of a man in the 1980s, the early 1980s, who had this idea, this dream, that he wanted to create a place between work and home that people can go to. And it's not a bar, but he called it a third place, a place between work and home that people can go to just to hang out and unwind just for a little bit. And he called it Starbucks. So the real business of Starbucks was to create a third place. That's why they reinvented the coffee industry. Like you used to go to the gas station and pay 50 cents for coffee. It wasn't a thing, right? But now you pay $5 for coffee because you're paying for like this kind of whatever coffee, specialty coffee from a place called Starbucks, and you're sitting down in a comfortable couch and listening to music and hanging out maybe for an hour or more, and you're chatting. It's a good place to meet. It's because of this vision for a third place. And really what Starbucks is in is that it's creating a third place. It's not really about coffee. They happen to serve coffee, but it really starts off by creating a third place. So what I want to do is make a point. As a church, what are we really trying to do? Like with our first time guests, what are we really trying to do? Like what's our host team really trying to, like what's the real purpose that they have? And I would say that the real purpose of a street to seat strategy is to share the gospel. Like if you think about it, people can open up their own doors. They don't need somebody to open the doors for them. They can find their way to a bathroom if they really needed to. They could fumble around and find their way to the bathroom. But the reason that we have greeters and a host team and people in the parking lot is so the gospel can be shared starting in the parking lot. The love of Jesus can start in the parking lot as people open doors. So if our teams are trained up like, hey, listen, the real reason why you're here is it's not about pointing people to the bathroom. It's about opening up their hearts to the gospel. That changes everything. So I think we've all experienced it. If you went to a store and you asked where the bathroom was, you might have had somebody say, oh, it's this way, take a left, take 2 rights, and you'll be there. And then we've also had the experience where somebody says, well, follow me, I'll show you where it's at. Our church needs to be the most friendly places because of the strategy, because it's not about telling people where something is or answering a question. It's about opening up their hearts to the gospel. We're expressing the gospel. So that's the why behind a lot of what we're talking about here today. How do we open people's hearts to receive the gospel and the love of Jesus as they enter into our facilities? How do we create environments that really invite that to happen in their lives, so that when they do get into the auditorium and they do listen to the music and then listen to the message, it's been a journey that they've been on, and it started, maybe 10 or 20 minutes ahead of time as they came onto our properties. So it's the why behind why churches have some churches have like a coffee area. It's the why behind why some churches spend a lot of money on signage and they might hang banners from the rafters. It's the why behind why we need to train up our people to be extremely warm and inviting. It's the why behind why some churches I've been to, they have like donuts in the lobby and they're providing like something for people to eat. We see ideas all the time at different churches, but sometimes we just don't know if it's a good idea for us. And what I want to do is maybe provide a grid, a why, to help you understand, like, is this a good fit for us to implement. So there are 4 areas that we need to pay attention to for a good street to seat strategy. And again, I'm going to show you some photos here in just a moment of what this has looked like for some churches that I've visited. Some of the biggest churches in America, really. I love to go and visit places and take photos and bring them back to share with you. But it starts in the parking lot. And the goal of the parking lot is to make them feel welcome. So as somebody's coming up to your property, the goal is to help them see that it's your property from a distance so they don't just drive by it. And then as they come onto your property, help them to feel welcome. Like, feel it. It's a feeling. Like, can you create a parking lot experience that helps them to feel welcome? When I take my kids to Disney, I'm down here in South Florida now, so Disney World is a lot closer than it used to be. And so I have a lot of fun, and we pull up on the Disney property, and my kids get so excited as we even come up to the property because they feel it. They feel the excitement. They have characters all around them and like photos and graphics and different things like that. The next thing is the lobby. So the goal of the lobby is to help them understand. So help them understand why your church exists. Help them understand where the bathroom is. Help them understand where to check their kids in. Help them by answering any questions they might have. Like, that's the goal of the lobby area. Help them to understand as quickly as possible. In the marketing world, we know that what people understand quickly is what they're most likely to buy into. So what can you do to create a lobby that is not confusing? So maybe there's some things we need to take down because it's too confusing. Like, people don't understand what it is. One of the churches that I visited, they had this huge, a tree, and it was like a golden tree up in the lobby in a very prominent area. And it represented people that had donated towards building the building, and it had like names on it and everything like that. So it was a beautiful piece. But as we kind of evaluated, what does that communicate to the new person? Well, it doesn't speak to them because it's not. It doesn't. They don't have any reference to what that is. In fact, if anything, it causes them to feel a little bit more like an outsider because they weren't a part of this and their name's not up on there. And, it just, they don't completely understand what it is. So I'm not saying we should take things like that down. I'm just saying, let's think about it from a newcomer's perspective so that we create experiences that help people feel welcomed instead of them feeling like an outsider. Because honestly, that's what we're fighting. That's the battle we're fighting every week as people come for the very first time. It's an awkward experience to go to a new church. If you haven't been to a new church in a while, I would challenge you to try to do that. Be a visitor at a new church. It's really awkward. The other area we're going to take a look at is the kids areas. And the kids areas need to be really 3 things. It needs to be clean, safe, and fun. It needs to be all 3. Clean and safe speak to the parents. The parents need to have a level of trust that this is going to be a really nice experience. So we'll get into more details here in just a moment. But one of the things that you should probably do in the baby room is, like, you notice little foot things that you put on over top of shoes that protect the carpet or something from your dirty shoes. Like, just have those in your nursery area, because that communicates to the parents that you care about their babies. Like, they're not crawling around in like a dirty surface. We at Vibrant, we're in a middle school. We transform a middle school into a church. So we cover the entire floor of our nursery with a material that we load in every week. And we just cover everything. It's a kind of this big map puzzle thing that we put together. And then all the people that are in the nursery, they have those little booty things that they put on over their shoes. So we want to communicate to the parents that this is a clean place for your babies that are going to be crawling around. It's a safe place. Like, it just creates another level of expectation that we're going to take care of your kids. Like, we've got this. That's the message that we want to try to communicate to them. And then for the kids, make sure it's fun, like some bright colors and maybe some images, that type of thing. It doesn't have to be over the top, maybe just a little bit to communicate to the kids, to open up their hearts to say, hey, let me go check this out. If you're a first-time guest, this is a good place for you to check out. You'll have a lot of fun. And then the fourth and final area is the auditorium. So the auditorium needs to communicate to the new guest. We'll take a look at what that starts to look like as some churches have done this well. The growing churches, there's a trend that we kind of see that they implement certain things that are just common. So for example, they might have lighting, like stage lighting or something like that, that's lighting up the stage and creating a more of an atmosphere. So a lot of the growing churches pay attention to that. It's interesting because in our culture today, whenever you outside of the church, like whenever you go see something presented that is designed to be, I don't know, engaging or fun or something like that, then there's a certain level of expectation that's there. Again, this is in the Western culture. Usually there's some good lighting, some good audio, some good video. And if we as a church don't meet that basic expectation, then we're really sending a message like, hey, we're not relevant, or we're not, there's a lot of nonverbal communication that happens before the sermon is presented. And really that's the big idea of what we're talking about today, is how do we be intentional about the communication that's happening before the communication? How are we intentional about what the guests are experiencing before they even hear the message? One final note before we go into our photos, where I show you some of this stuff. When a few years ago, probably 9 years ago, my wife and I were looking for a new church, and we were experiencing this for the first time. Before that, I'd been in a church for 23 years. I basically grew up in the church that I was in. So this was a new experience. And we had a list of about 8 churches we were going to check out. So we checked out the first church, and then we checked out the second church. And at the second church, we walked in and we were greeted nicely. And we just had a baby. My son was about actually less than 1 year old, just a little baby. So we went to the kids areas and we saw exactly what I described. The workers had little foot thingies on. The place looked clean. There's murals all over the wall. And it was a very intentional environment. Then we walked over to the lobby after dropping off our baby boy, and we went to get some coffee. And in the coffee, they called it mission grounds coffee. And they had like these stories of like missionaries that they were supporting up on the walls, and even underneath the table, like on the table underneath some glass. And you can see photos and you can read the stories of like the missionary updates. They had a huge map on the wall that had like pins of where the missionaries were. And it just communicated to us like, wow, this church really cares about like global missions. That's pretty cool. And then we walked into the auditorium, and it was kind of dark and had stage lights, and the music was started, and it felt like a concert experience. And for us, that communicated this idea of like, hey, they really care about new people coming in and providing an environment for them to walk into. It's not just haphazard, but they flip the switches on. Like there's some effort that went into this. And sure enough, after the worship set, the pastor comes up and he just allows people to accept Jesus if they wanted to, like even right there. So all of those things before we even heard the sermon. And Melissa and I, we looked at each other and we said, hey, we're going to come back. Like this is going to be our church. And sure enough, we were there for a good 8 years before we ended up moving down to Florida for the church plant. But it was everything before we even met the pastor, shook his hand, or even went to a membership class. Even before we heard the sermon, like we decided we're going to come back. Like this is the place for us. And that's what happens. That's the power of what we're talking about here today. How can we create that experience that says to that new person, I'm going to come back. I'm going to check this out. So let's take a look at some photos. I'm going to take a moment to share my entire screen with you. And I'm going to show you photos. I'm actually going to be using, give me 1 second here while I set this up. I'm actually going to be using our website. So for you guys that are members, you have access to this login area. So I'm actually going to be using our login area. It's kind of a new thing that I've been developing over time. It's been slow but steady. So on this membership area, this is the dashboard area where you can see our next upcoming call on November 21st. We've got our last session right here. And then down below, I just wanted to point out photos from other campuses. So we're going to take a look at these photos that I've taken from other churches that I've visited over the years. And I'm just going to pull them up and we'll just talk through them real quick. We're going to start with the parking lot. So I'm going to go through these pretty fast. If you have questions, Let me know in about probably 5 to 10 minutes. We'll be done with the content part of this phone call, and I'll open it up to questions. So if you have any questions, okay? So let's start with the parking lot. This is from VU Church. They have a huge sign across this church meets in the school. It just says, "Welcome to VU." This is in South Miami. This is another church called Church by the Glades in South Florida. They have a big tent that says "New Here," and then you can walk up there and get your questions answered. You can even check in your kids there. There's another location, same church, different locations, a bright purple tent. I'll tell you this, I had 4 kids walking up, and this was extremely helpful. We pulled up our minivan, unloaded. My wife went to the New Here tent, got everybody checked in before I even came back from parking the van. So super helpful experience. This is Vibrant Church, our church. We have a truck that we've wrapped and it says Vibrant Church. We park it in the parking lot just to let people know. It's one other point of contact to let people know they're in the right place. These are signs that are sandwich board signs or A-frame signs, and they're just set out on the property to let people know like where things are, where to check in your kids, where seating is, those type of things. These are really nice signs that you can just set up and tear down every week if you're in a temporary facility. Even if you're in a permanent facility, it's great to have these type of signs. These are directional signs that are mounted on the wall, just giving very clear directions to help people navigate the facilities. This is actually a church in a school. So they put this huge banner graphic. It's probably 60 feet long, and it says, "You belong here." It's just the first thing you see coming off of the parking lot. So again, they're communicating before people even get into the facilities. This is Hope City Church down in Houston, Texas, one of the fastest growing churches in America right now. They have these also sandwich board signs. As you're leaving, on the back side of the signs, they say, "See you soon." It's just a friendly little, "Hey, we want you to come back." That's the communication that people, now there's people that are standing next to the sign giving high fives and saying this verbally, but there's also these signs that's showing some intentionality. Again, another sign just pointing people to the kids areas. This actually, the kids area is across a courtyard. So marking that very clearly so guests can find it even if there's nobody out there to help them. This is at Elevation Church. They have these huge floppy flags that are out in the lobby or out in the parking lot. And they have a resource area as well. So things that are very clearly marked as you're walking just in from the parking lot creates a big difference. This is the sign for one of the Elevation Church's campuses. So this is a pretty good investment into a sign like this, but it makes a statement. Like, this is a permanent facility, but then it has Elevation Church in a very big, bold, right off the main street. Like, you can't miss this sign. So if you're at the position where you can do that, again, it makes it worthwhile because of the intentionality that it communicates. I would say this sign is probably like 40 feet wide. It's really big. This is Elevation Church once again. As you come into the parking lot, this is what you see. You have these flags that are flopping in the wind. It feels like almost like a carnival as you're coming into the property. It just screams like, man, this is where it's at. Like, you're in the right place. And they set them up every Sunday and they tear them down every Sunday after services. But it creates an environment. They even have those tents you can kind of see in the background there that communicate that that's where the first time guests go, and it's easily marked. This is a great sign from Church of the Highlands down in Birmingham. It's on their building. It's really big. It's really high, and it's lit up really well at nighttime. So it's just a good example of some signage on a building. And this is another church that has a great sign. It's a monument sign off a main street. So a very large sign. I'd probably say another 20 or 30 foot sign wide. And this is one of the logos that we created actually, and they mounted it onto the signage. Having people in the parking lot, that's another touch that's really great. That's smiling. Maybe they have some signs that are saying something like, "You belong here." That's providing some great welcoming messaging for new people coming in. So again, that's our parking lot. I'm going to cut to the lobby area. Because of the Zoom conference call, my internet connection is kind of slow. So let me see if I can get over there pretty quick so that we can jump into the lobby discussion. I went back a little too far. So as we get ready to look at the lobby pictures, I just want to paint the picture of what we're doing here. So it starts in the parking lot, welcoming people from the parking lot. Then the next handoff, there's a transition that happens as people enter into the lobby of the facility. Now I have a lot of photos here, so I'm going to go through this again pretty fast. Um, this is a lobby area in a school. They've just taken a school and transformed it into a gathering place for a church on a Sunday. They're putting the values up. Here's some great verbiage. Again, I can't spend too much time on this, but some great verbiage, just letting people know what they're getting ready to enter into as they go into the auditorium. Again, just a nice space they've created for new guests to come and get information. They even have these floor mats made that lead people towards their kids' ministry area. This is VU Church in South Florida in Miami. And just to look at some of the things they did to set up I want to say this is a high school. This is a permanent facility at Glades Church, and they just created a nice warm environment and a big desk for being able to ask questions or get answers that you might need. This is a church in Houston, and they're transforming a school, putting a lot of signage all around with their branding. So they're transforming this school into a church. They're making it feel like a church. A lot of times when I see portable churches, they put these really small signs up, and it looks just underwhelming. But these type of signs that are these signs right here we're looking at on the right hand side, they're probably 12 feet tall and 8 feet wide. Like they're large, and they make a statement. They really transform a space from being a school into now being a church. So again, you can see some more of these large signs. You see that lady standing right there, and how big those signs are in the background. Next steps, communicating next steps is huge in your facilities to help people just keep moving. Like, how do you come back, get plugged in? This is a baptism service, so they put a huge banner behind them that says, "I have decided," and it's a great photo op as people are getting baptized. This is a great sign that shows direction. The sign itself is probably 10 by 10, 10 foot tall by 10 feet wide, and it has these really big letters that say auditorium, kids, and seating. Another next steps area. This is Hope City Church, and they've covered the entire length of the hallway with these banners. So every week they set this all up. There's no like part of the school that's being seen because it's all covered up by banners. There's actually on the right hand side, there's a trophy case that they're covering up. It's if you can imagine a school trophy case, it's busy, it's got a lot going on, and they're just covering all that up to create this environment. This is back at Elevation Church. It's a look at their lobby area. You can see how there's blue shirts everywhere to help people out. It's got a good vibe to it. This is a baptism that's happening in a lobby. Between service, this was actually after first service, before the second service, they had a baptism, just a pool set up. And if people just gathered and watched people get baptized as they were coming into the service or as they were leaving the service before. It was a really neat experience. Bathrooms are a big deal. So I feel kind of creepy taking photos of bathrooms, inside bathrooms, but I think it's worthwhile, so I can show you. There's like some Listerine, mouthwash, and like a lint roller. There's even some body spray. So they're going the extra mile to help you feel welcomed. This church this church, the Highlands, they had a dream team, sort of their serve team, located right off the lobby. And so dream teamers can go in there and get refreshments and stuff. And it actually puts them on display to the rest of the church. So hopefully it encourages a culture of like joining a dream team. This is another bathroom. So again, feel a little bit creepy taking a picture of that. But this is in a school, and they're transformed. They're going the extra mile to make a high school bathroom feel homey. They put some extra things of soap out, some extra like warm towel things, and it's a really neat environment that they created in a lobby. This is what a lobby looks like. Again, this is a high school, so they're putting up a lot of banners and signage just to transform that high school into a welcoming environment. Another lobby area. This is a cafe. So they're actually serving free coffee as well as paid like specialty drinks. And so in our culture, coffee is a big deal. So if you can help people feel welcome by giving them a warm drink, if somebody comes to your house, that's kind of what you do. You offer them something to drink. So this is the idea. How do we help people feel welcomed? This is a great lobby that just has a lot of color and vibrancy to it. So I wanted to show you some of that. It just helps people feel like this is very intentional. They're hanging stuff from the ceiling. They don't have to do that, but it makes you feel like they're intending for you to be there. And this is just showing a lot of seating in the lobby area. The idea is that they want you to sit down, get to know some people, have some fellowship. And so they're creating a big space with lots of comfortable seating so that people can sit down. In fact, I know that at this church, they invite you to sit in the lobby, even if you wanted to sit there for the entire service. And they have all these TVs where you can watch the service and even just do it from the lobby. Some other facility photos of the signage, some other things to help you get around and navigate. This lady on the lower left here is holding a sign that lets people know like where to register their kids. So it's just an extra touch, like where somebody's actually there holding the sign. This is a nice backdrop that people take photos of. This is actually a vibrant church. So we're taking the middle school and we're putting up a lot of banners just to transform that space into our environment, our culture. We're putting values up and letting people see that before they even come into the facilities. All right, so let's take a look with our remaining time. I think I'm gonna do one more and then I'm gonna pause, let you guys ask any questions you have and let you go. Normally our goal for these calls are gonna be about 30 minutes. So I don't wanna hold you too much longer because I am going a little bit long here. So let's take a look at the kids areas. Kids areas, again, communicates, it needs to be clean, safe, and fun. We talked about those three big ideas. So this church is actually meeting in a high school. This is VU Church once again. And they're just going the extra mile to set up something that kids can interact with. This is their area where you check in your kids. So a nice area, just very, presents really nice and very playful, but at the same time, it's done well. So as a parent, like you feel like they're putting a lot of effort into creating a safe environment that you can feel comfortable dropping your kids into. This is a gymnasium area that's being transformed into a classroom, and they're going the extra mile. They have this stuff on the outside called scuba wall. It's the blue stuff. Now on the inside of that, they have these panels that are brightly colored, and they're forming the shape for to contain the kids. So it creates a nice, welcoming environment as you're a parent looking into this. It doesn't feel like you're in a high school. It feels good. This is just on the outside of that same room, and they've got really large sign just marking all the rooms, so there's no confusion that's happening. Like you know where your kids can go. So if you're 2 to 12 months old, or 1 to 2 years old, or 3 to 5 years old, it's labeled very well. Kids check-in area, really large and easy to see from anywhere. So nice big sign in the background. This is one of the churches that's putting some of their values on the walls. So they're using a very large gray wall that probably wouldn't have anything on it, but they're using this vinyl sticker to create a statement. So we will connect the families, the message, and it just is a great use of real estate. Another check-in area, this is actually in a school. So they're transforming a hallway into a nice check-in area. Lots of signs. Again, too many churches use really small signage that's underwhelming, but this is what it looks like to create an environment that is welcoming. It's big signage, it's bold signage, and it makes a statement. The kids' classrooms are set up extremely well. It's all lined up, looks neat and tidy. That communicates to parents as they're looking into the classroom, dropping off their kids. This is a kid's classroom with a nice colorful banner on the background there that they're putting up. Some great signage that are clear and helps people understand. Again, these are oversized. Look at the size of that signage. It's not this small little plaque on the wall. It's really big, and it communicates something. It communicates that kids are important here at this church. Big signage from the ceiling dropping down. Yeah, so that's our kids areas. So let me just wrap that up. I do have a few that are from the auditorium, but while I'll click through some of those as I wrap up this call here today, just to honor your time. I want to invite you to check out our membership area if you haven't done that, where I'll be posting a lot more of these type of things for you to be able to see and to check out. One thing I will mention with these auditorium photos is that a lot of the growing churches create an environment that looks almost like a concert environment. And it's kind of a trend that's happening in church world. And it's really just to stay on par with what people are experiencing outside of church. Like, how do you create an experience where people feel like you care about them Also, by being able to control the lighting, you're able to provide a worship experience that is, it's not about look at me, it's more about an intimate worship experience that you're providing for people as they come in. These are connect cards that are on the seats, and those are important pieces that every church needs to do really well, is make sure people are turning in those connect cards so you can follow up with them. Can't really get people to engage if you are not able to follow up. So wrapping things up for now, let me jump back over to our slide deck and just present just a call to action for you if you're listening to this call. Just work on your lobby to make it great. Clean it up a little bit, declutter it, take everything out that doesn't need to be there, and take out things that are just insider. Maybe you have a big bulletin board with like stuff on there, usher meetings, and I would encourage you to clean that up. Make it a warm environment, kind of like you would see in a hotel lobby. It just looks warm and inviting to the new person. Remember, we want to take care of them because they're the ones that are going to make a decision whether or not to come back within that first 7 minutes, like we talked about. Have signs that are easy to help them to easily navigate your facility, and make sure your hosting team is on point. Everybody from the parking lot to the lobby, all the way to the ushers in the auditorium, make sure they're on point, that they know it's not just about pointing people to where the bathrooms are. It's about the gospel. They're helping to communicate the gospel. And that's the why behind what they're doing. So I want to encourage you to do that as just a call to action for you. Thanks for joining me today. Again, I want to serve you as a virtual communications director. My name is Michael Prasad with Church Brand Guide. If you haven't checked out our membership, I'd love to encourage you to do that at churchbrandguide.com. There's a membership tab that's right up there. Click on that. Jump in. Let me help you do this well to invite new people by providing you some great resources. With that, I'll just open it up for any questions you might have for just a couple of minutes. So let me pause there. Any questions from anybody? Just unmute yourself and jump in. I see some chats. So let me see if I can read off a couple of those real quick. How do we get a login for the website? Good question. Shoot me an email. You should have a login, but if you signed up a long time ago, the login area is fairly new, recent, within the last few months. So shoot me an email, let me know you need it, and I can send you manually that login so you can get into that. Somebody else is asking, guest cards, do you have a guest area? Do you collect during your services? We're portable, so we've wrestled with this. Okay, so we're also portable, we're in a middle school. Our greatest response has been a text. So we use a service called Text in Church that allows people to text maybe new here to a number. And then from that, we can follow up with them. And that's actually worked the best for us. In fact, we actually use that for a salvation response time as well. So Pastor Brandon will pray for people that responded to, ask Jesus to come into their heart. And then they can also like text in, after they've done that, text in the word hope, and then we can follow up with them with some materials. So texting has been huge for us. We also, this is funny, we had connect cards in the seats. Every seat has one, so that everybody can have access to it really easily. But we found that not a lot of people are turning those in. But then we offered a free gift, and the free gift has made all the difference. We've been doing it now for 2 weeks with the free gift. The previous weeks before now, we only had like maybe 2 or 3 cards turned in about 5 weeks. But in the last 2 weeks, we've seen about 20 people turn in their Connect cards to get the free gift. And we actually called it a mystery box. I don't have one with me, or else I would show it to you, but it's just a brown box. Inside of it is a tumbler. It's like a little container that holds hot or cold drinks. And it has our branding on it. But we just, from the stage, we announced, hey, if you're new today, we have a free gift. It's a mystery box. And we'd love for you to come back to our guest area after service, turn in your Connect card and get your mystery box. So there's a bit of intrigue on a marketing side, and it compels people to go back there and get it. So you might try that. You can do it with just about anything. Yeah, so we collect those Connect cards after service. Any other questions from anybody? And then there's one more question in here. How do you keep the presence of church versus it looking like a concert? Oh, I gotcha. How do we keep our presence to look different from the world? Okay, awesome question. So I think the idea is um, if we create a concert environment, how do we create a holy place, for lack of better words? I think that's the premise of the question. Um, so the idea is this: we know the church is not a building; it's people, and church can happen anywhere. In fact, I think it was Bishop T.D. Jakes. He once taught about how if Jesus were to show up at our church, he wouldn't know what it is. He would ask, "Hey, what's a steeple?" or what's a podium, because he wouldn't recognize it from 2000 years ago, if he literally came from being back then. So the idea is that it doesn't matter what our environments look like, um, as long as people are coming to it to then receive the message that we have. The message is what's sacred. The environment doesn't matter. It's going to change, and I'm saying, hey, make it look like a concert right now, but in 15 years or 20 years, there might be something different. And we have to be willing to let go of what we have and be able to embrace what people are responding to. Jesus said, let's be fishers of men. I'll teach you how to be fishers of men. And we just have to be able to adapt to what the fish are responding to. And we are our natural, like as a church, you're going to present the gospel, which is holy. You're going to sing songs which are, worshipful of God. So it doesn't matter if we have lights and smoke and haze and all this other stuff. It's almost, that stuff is just like a microphone. A microphone amplifies a message that you're already speaking. We're just creating an environment. We're just creating more of a microphone idea to create now an environment where people come in from the outside and they come in and they feel comfortable. It's not about, not creating a holy place, because we can. And it can be done just naturally by what we already do as a church. We're just amplifying that message through the environments that we create. Hopefully that helps you out. All right, well, let me wrap up the call today. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll put the replay in our membership area. If you still need to log in, I'm more than happy to help you out. It's a new thing that I'm doing. We're kind of slowly growing the membership as we go along, making it better. I'm getting feedback from a lot of you guys, and thank you for that. And I'll just keep you up to date with that as we go along. So thanks for being part of this if you're a member, and just for joining us if you're not yet a member. I appreciate you as well. And I'll see you next time on our call. I believe it's scheduled for the 20 November. Let's see, November 21st is our next call, and I'll let you know in the next couple days what the topic's going to be. And I'll see you next time on this call. Thanks.